So Sheldon was not physically like JC mentioned, he was a rock, but he's a little under 5'10". Mm-hmm. So if you just saw him, you wouldn't necessarily think NFL starting defensive back for 12, 13 years. But he could hit, and he was not bashful about contact. There's a lot of corners. I mean, Deion's the most famous, but there's more of them. They love to cover. They hate to hit. They love to just go back there and run. They hate to have to lower those shoulder pads and deliver some contact.
Sheldon was Jay Diz reminds you of the hit Sheldon put on Reggie Bush.
That's what I just said.
That's what he was talking about.
Yeah. Dude, my bad.
Hold on, we can. Hey guys, why don't we ask him about?
We can ask Sheldon Brown about Reggie Bush. He still looks like he could play. He's
I
don't. Sheldon, you're like me, man. You're still figuring out this whole internet thing, right?
Man, it took me 10 minutes to get in this.
You know what though? It's worth the wait. We got to read all your accolades, and I'm glad we get to see you instead of just hearing you. When I used to have you on my show in Columbia, back then we didn't have this technology. I could hear you, but now we can see you, and you still look great, man. You look like you could still play a little ball.
Yeah, I have a few gray hairs. I don't know what kind of ball you're talking about. I look like I can play, but
football or baseball. I know you play them both.
You look like a baseball coach is what you look like with that hat and all the unis hanging behind you. And
I love baseball. I love baseball.
Sheldon, I was reminiscing about in Greenville. We were at Greenville Municipal Stadium, the old Braves AA. I got to call your one home run in the Gamecock uniform. Remember it well. And then and I was like, and I remember talking to Coach Tanner and the staff, like, yeah, man, he's coming around. Like, I know he's going to be a football player, but he's going to be a really good baseball player if he stays with it. And then we go to Gainesville, and you're riding high, and before I know it, I'm like, where's Sheldon Brown? Oh, he's in the hospital, an emergency appendectomy. And if I'm not mistaken, you never played for Carolina again on the diamond, right?
No, I did. Brainerd brought me home. My last memory was we lost in Palo Alto to Stanford.
Yep.
But did you play in that game?
Yeah. He put me in towards the end. I got in the bat.
Oh my God!
Didn't go so well.
Well, nothing.
Right.
Mike,
if Whitaker would have just hit the ball over the fence, y'all would have been in Omaha.
Well, I was going to say,
Mike, I listened to you call the game, and I remember.
I know. I forget. That's selective amnesia. I've tried to forget about that Stanford Super because deep down I know you guys were a better team. And the 3-2 in the final day, and there was a ball. Was it Trip Kelly that hit it? Somebody hit a ball that damn near left the park.
Yeah,
Tim Whitaker.
Was it Whit? Okay,
it was Whitaker. If the ball left the yard, Carolina would have had the lead.
I know. So okay. So you didn't start. You got in the bat, didn't go well. Who were you facing? You remember? Was it Guthrie? He was like their stud.
It was a stud. I'll tell you.
Yeah, it was a stud. Anyway, my point was you were. If you were just focused on one sport, I have no doubt you could have been an all-conference, all-American type of baseball player. But obviously, football was going to be the next level for you. I mean, it was obvious from sophomore, junior year on that you had a chance to be next level good. First off, let me back up. There's so many things I want to ask you. I'm trying to get them all in. Tell the folks, because I spent a good amount of time in South Carolina, a lot of time in Rock Hill, which I know you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. Tell the folks about Fort Lawn, South Carolina, and Lewiston High School.
Louisville, okay.
Louisville.
So when I grew up, Fort Lawn, South Carolina was I grew up on a dirt road, no stoplights. The town of Fort Lawn is probably 4 miles long when you go from Chester, Richburg, and then you come to Fort Lawn. When you pass through Richburg, you come to Fort Lawn. You in Fort Lawn probably 4 minutes total. Then you hit Lancaster, South Carolina. Okay. So that's how big Fort Lawn is. I played my youth sport baseball in Lancaster, South Carolina.
Yep.
And that's a 1A school?
That is Louisville is a 1A school. Lancaster is a 4A school.
4A,
right, but you played 1A ball.
Yeah. That 1A ball, that school is Louisville High School in Richburg, South Carolina, right off Interstate 77. Yeah.
Okay.
About 10 to 12 minutes from South Point High School, which is in Rock Hill High School, where
Right.
Stephon Gilmore and Clown and all those guys came from.
And
Right.
where you are now is the head baseball coach.
Head
Let's make
baseball.
sure
There
everybody
you
knows
go.
that.
Yeah, you did
Oh,
some
yeah,
research.
Oh yeah,
Sheldon, Sheldon, we know we know.
We already pumped up not just what you're doing now, but your son, your talented daughter, and again, I got to know your wife Jenny over the years, but is an incredible family, and you're an incredible story. But I think that's where I wanted my jumping off point before we got into the whole baseball thing in 01 and a painful memory in Palo Alto. But that the fact that here you are, a small school. JC mentioned earlier, like you were known as a running back, right? Primarily.
Yeah.
And then take us through the recruiting process and how you got to Columbia, and then how eventually you turned into that guy that might have flown under the radar a little bit to the eventual All-American you turned out to be.
So 2 guys from my high school, Wesley McFadden and Michael Barber, went to Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
So Clemson was the first football team that was really recruiting the school of Louisville High School.
Mm-hmm.
And they were on me a lot. I mean, big time. Well, I kind of gave them a verbal that I would attend Clemson. And if you can remember, Clemson at that time went through some stuff. I think they had some stuff going on campus with some players, got in a whole bunch of trouble back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up Clyde Wren. If everybody know Coach Wren.
Oh yeah, very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Clyde Wren is from Chester, South Carolina.
Yep.
So he knew a lot. He probably knew more about me than I knew about myself behind the scenes. And he was always behind the scenes, I guess, advocating for Sheldon Brown at Carolina. And when push came to shove towards the very end, he came to one of my playoff games against Lamar, I think, at home. And when he left that game, I guess he put everything he had on the line. Was like, we got to get this kid or I'm not going to be a happy guy. So that's how I ended up at South Carolina.
Was that Lamar team? John Abraham was already at Carolina by the time.
So the year we played Lamar down there, John Abraham was the defensive end, and I had -7 yards rushing that game. Yeah, and that was his first time ever playing football. We was at their place, and let's not forget, Levon Kirkland came from Lamar too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, lots of good players.
So supposedly John Abraham was a Timmonsville kid that transferred to Lamar. And the reason why this story is kind of like so new to me is because I was over at York High School the other day watching a scrimmage. Louisville was scrimmaging York, and I ran into Coach Boyd, who was actually the coach down there during that time. And we was just reminiscing about the good old days and talking. But John Abraham played 1 year. He was a track kid and a basketball player, transferred, I think, from Timmonsville to Lamar. Yeah. And that 1 year, I just remember I had -7 yards. Now, the following year, my senior year, they came to us, and I had 384 yards. John Abraham was gone.
Hey,
they missed John Abraham that day.
Did you want to play running back in college?
So I did, but some very smart people told me basically percentages of making it to the next level, where running backs lifespan was probably 4 years back then, maybe 3.5. And then 2 on a roster. Mm-hmm. And then when you go look at the defense side of the ball, you'll have 3 or 4 safeties, 4 corners, nickels, dimes, you know what I mean? Like 2 starting corners, a nickel and a dime. So it was kind of common sense to say the better opportunity, if you can do it, is to go to the defense side of the ball.
I have to imagine, and I was raving before you jumped on about your coverage skills. I don't know if you're the prototypical frame that NFL scouts look for, but one thing that was so common when I followed you and I got to see every game you played at Carolina, and not to mention a number of Eagles games on TV, you could just stick to guys. You were really hard to separate from, and your ball skills, like 1 year you led the NFL in pass breakups. You did that a lot in the SEC. It's not all about INTs. Guys just had a hard time getting open against you, and I would have to imagine those running back skills came in handy to become such a great cover corner at the next level.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you say that, because I wasn't the prototypical corner body type. I was more of a safety body type player. But I think, I had some great coaches that taught me how to study the game. John Gutekunst, Charlie Strong. So a lot of that was like anticipation, knowing where routes are going and going to end up. And then they always taught me too, like, don't gamble. Like, even though if you are, I guess, setting a quarterback up to make a bad throw, if you gamble and cheat too much, then obviously they study film too. So the next guy that's facing you going to have a double move off of it or some of that stuff. So a lot of the PBUs come from just, playing the sound way of playing football instead of undercutting stuff and gambling and just trying not to give up big plays.
Yeah.
On that note, sorry, man.
Well, I was Jason. You might have. You go ahead. Let me see what you're going to say.
Yeah,
we might be on the same wavelength
we were talking
here.
about this before you got on. I thought in college, and I know a little more about the game than I did back then. Back then, I was just drinking beer and yelling at you to go. But from the student section, back think about it. And I remember was your first interception in your career against Florida at the Swamp in '98? Was that the first one?
Yeah, that was. I was at Palmer.
Yeah, I think it was
probably
Palmer.
was
Yeah, we were trying to figure out who it was.
Yeah,
I was saying, I remember his first interception in '98. End of the season, the game was probably over. Yeah, Coach Scott, that was the end. But I remember again, I was like, that kid's going to be pretty good. He kind of came out of nowhere. And I thought about that plays you made in the Outback Bowl against Clemson, all your interceptions. Do you feel like you had an ability to bait the quarterback? And you just mentioned that. I was like, that guy, because it was like the quarterback would throw the ball and then Sheldon would come out of almost, it seemed like from the stands out of nowhere or on TV out of nowhere and pick it off. Do you feel like that was kind of one of your strengths is baiting them or kind of fooling them into making that throw and then you struck?
I wouldn't say I was really baiting them. I was playing within the confines of the defense and the structure. Like, I've played with a lot of guys that will kind of cheat. So if the safety is supposed to cover the dig and now I got a corner jumping digs, now we have two people doing someone else's job. And that go on a lot when I'm watching games, and it's selfish play. And then you may get away with it once or twice, but it comes back to bite you in the rear end at the most pivotal point in a game or a situation during the season where we've been letting it go all year and we've been getting lucky. Bam, now it happens and we never coached it up. And it's just a selfish play. I feel like I always played, and Coach Gutekunst will probably attest to this, I never went outside the box and tried to do something that I wasn't supposed to be doing defensively. And that's why I think some of my numbers are probably skewed or lower from a standpoint of having a lot of interceptions because I just played within the defense.
Yeah, so it's probably like you – like by playing within the scheme, it kind of just came your way eventually, right?
Yeah, well, the D-line, tip balls, overthrows, all that stuff. I didn't give up a lot of big plays. And
not at all.
If you're giving up big plays, that means you're cheating routes. They're studying film, and they're doing things different off of what you're studying. Meaning if they typically runs a dig on 3rd and 10, they're going to run a dig and go if you are an unsound player.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's why I always maintain that the guys that lead the league in interceptions are not always the best corners because very often they're giving up the most touchdowns too.
Yes, I played with
All right. You're talking about interceptions. I remember a day where there was a lot of interceptions. September of 2000 when Quincy Carter and the Dogs came to town. 21-10, the final score. You had one of the 5 picks. I can't believe you let Dennis Quinn pick him off twice, and you could only get one. That's ridiculous. I'm just kidding. But what happened that day? What walk us through the week. He's the leading Heisman candidate at the time. Walk us through the week and into the game, and what y'all saw, what you discussed. Describe it.
I don't know. For some strange reason, when Georgia normally comes, especially early in the year, to Carolina, there's just some curse where we have a day. The defensive line did a great job of applying pressure. I don't know if Quincy stayed up too late that night before, but he definitely his game plan. I don't know if he was struggling or the offensive coordinator's game plan didn't work, but I know the defensive line got after it, and he was just throwing the ball around the ballpark that day to us.
Yeah, I would say those 2 games 2000 Georgia, 2001 at Georgia, back-to-back wins. I remember being in the car stuck in traffic and just looking at Georgia fans going, we just lost to South Carolina back-to-back. Where are we right now? That program was not the same. I mean, you changed the career of Quincy Carter that day, and you changed the career of some coaches for the Georgia staff. But Jamie hit on a game I was going to ask you about, and I want to hit on even before that, because you were one of those guys that was part of the Brad Scott era and then part of the Lou era. I was there during that time, and Lou, oh my gosh. I mean, you can't even imagine how radical a change that was to go from Brad to Lou unless you were there. It was remarkable, and you were there front and center. Plus, you were there for 21 consecutive losses, and then you're there for 2 magical seasons in 2000, 2001. So just take us through that coaching change, what it was like. Was it scary? Was it, I don't know about this guy, he's nuts. How is this going to affect my career? Do I even stay here? What were you thinking through all that time, and what was it like going through the ascension of Gamecock football?
Well, it's crazy that you even say that, because that's the reason why I wasn't allowed to play baseball the first 2 seasons, because of the debacle in the football part of it. That was promised to me out of high school. Well, Brad, Coach Scott, good guy, but by the time I got there, you can tell he was just trying to, I guess, politically survive another year. If that kind of makes sense.
Absolutely.
And then in that season, we didn't have a chance to win those games, right? Players were quitting after 4 minutes in the game start, and things were going south. Now, that was 1-10. So when Coach Holtz came, the difference is we did go 0-11, but we were only losing by 3 or 7 points. So you can tell the guys in the team, we were not quitting. When I was there my freshman year, guys in the team were quitting. Like, we were getting blown out because, I mean, the guys were quitting. But when Coach Holtz came in, we were playing full games. We just didn't know how to finish as a ball team. But you can tell that we were moving in the right direction, just the little things that were going on around the facility. The accountability, being held responsible, having to sit in the first 2 rows of a class, important stuff that matter, and helps you win. And then the next 2 years, obviously, were magical. And we had, I think, 7 guys drafted. I don't know if Carolina's ever had 7 guys drafted. I don't know the answer to that in the NFL draft. But off of that losing team, we had like 7 guys drafted. You know, you go Willa Alford, Kalimba Edwards, Andre Goodman, myself, just to name a few. You know, there were some more guys too, if you go back and look at it. But that was pretty remarkable, because those NFL guys know through thick and thin, these guys been there. We're going to struggle in the NFL. So would they quit or would they fight? They knew we were going to be fighters.
That had to be – there's very few players in college football that experience those highs and lows. So, I mean, it's like a life lesson, isn't it? To go through what you went through, where you guys are a national story in kind of the most humiliating way, just from a loss standpoint, 21 in a row. And then all of a sudden, the ultimate redemption story, which we all love. And all of a sudden, the Gamecocks are kind of the darlings of the college football world, and you guys got to transform a program. Very few players actually even guys that go to Georgia or Texas or Ohio State and they win a bunch of games. They are not the primary reason why a program took it to the next level. They were already at
followers.
That
level. They are followers. They're going to play with people.
Right. Yeah. Right. You're driving the bus. You're not in the bus.
Correct. We were not followers. We could have all tried to go find a grass is greener on the other side. No, we just put our head down and stuck to the plan, and it paid off for all of us in the end.
I remember I asking you once on my show because there's so many great wideouts that go through the SEC, and I'm like rattling off first round picks. I'm like, who was the toughest guy to guard? And you're like, Mike, actually, the toughest guy was that kid from Vandy, Dan Stricker. Like he gave me the most problems just trying to cover him. You remember him? Like, what was it about him compared to some of the other guys?
I don't know. I thought Vanderbilt, for what they had and what they were, I thought they played extremely hard. And we were one of those games on their calendar where, I mean, they're going to mark a W. And they don't have many W's marked on their calendar. So you knew that you were going to get their best effort, you know. But he was a great competitor. Good wide receiver, and I give him his props. He played the game the right way.
Who was the freakiest guy you had to cover either college or pro level?
I'm gonna tell you this: my freshman year, I was very shocked at how good Eric Mose. He was a good player. He was a Mississippi State guy.
Yeah.
Now he was a veteran in the NFL, but Troy Vincent got hurt. I had to go in and play against him. I was a rookie. He probably was in year 6 or 7, and he was a man. Yeah. Now the freakiest player I ever played with or against is Terrell Owens by far. And if you look at him today, he looks like he still can play.
No doubt.
Yeah. How did judging your career against T.O. when you covered him, what grade would you give yourself?
Probably a C+.
C+.
Yeah, really.
It's not bad. I'll say this.
Yeah.
My best year probably in my NFL career was the year that he was with us in training camp.
Mm-hmm.
That
he made you better.
We went to the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
Because the next year, obviously, we know the sit-ups and all that stuff he did in the driveway. But that year, I mean, we were getting after it in training camp. He came in from San Fran, and we were all getting the best reps we could possibly get going against him.
How painful is it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask about his trash talking, because you hear it. And what's that like when you're out there? Did you give it back to him?
He don't talk trash on the field. Now, not to like a player. He may go to sideline and do all his stuff over there, but on the field, he's straight business. Good player.
We know the games. Go
by
ahead,
the way,
Jason.
I just want to say in our chat box, Coach Hance, David Hance says, "What's up, Sheldon? One of the best kids I've ever coached." This is one of your coaches chiming in here in our audience.
Yeah. My Little League baseball coach and my post 31 coach. Yeah, Lancaster High School, David Hance. No one.
Wow. It's
cool.
like the game of This Is Your Life. We're getting everybody here.
One of the wait, hold on just a second. David, one of the best kids. Who were the other ones?
He probably had Pep Harris, who was a draft pick. Lancaster had Earl Cunningham. They had probably 3 or 4 guys going to Major League Baseball draft out of their high school back when I was coming up. My 3 doors down from me was Brian Williams. He was a Houston Astro for probably 4 or 5 seasons, pitched at Carolina. That was like one of my idols, my neighbor. His sister and I, we kind of graduated together.
It's amazing. We've talked about that area that you grew up in. I talk about Rock Hill all the time, but I mean, we could expand it a few miles to your high school and your hometown. Just the per capita, the amount of athletes that come out of that area. It's unbelievable. What are they putting in the drinking water over there?
Well, you tell me what else it is to do around there.
That's exactly right.
Well, that's true.
Then to go outside and play.
Right. Yes.
We were talking about Fort Lawn earlier because Mike said, "Have you been to Fort Lawn?" I said, "I've been to every town in South Carolina. That's where I'm born and raised. I've been through Fort Lawn, but never stopped in Fort Lawn."
Yeah.
But I do need to, when I'm in that area, we're going to contact you because I want to go eat at the Wagon Wheel.
Oh yeah.
What is your meal there? What's the go-to? Do they have the Sheldon Brown? Can you order the Sheldon
Everything on the menu at the Wagon Wheel is good, but you better make sure you stop at the Catawba Fish Camp.
I was going to ask you about that too. That's further down the road, right?
Not too much farther.
Okay.
Probably a mile or two, maybe 2 miles.
What's the go-to there?
I'll get the green shrimp plate with the salt and pepper perch.
Damn, that sounds good.
I'll buy if you take me.
Yeah. Oh, we'll go whenever. Whenever.
Yeah. That sounds
awesome. I'm free this weekend, so we don't.
I'm just kidding. Let's book that after the segment. Let's put to go back to your area. I mean, there's only so many hours you can play Tecmo Bowl, right? And the old Nintendo before you got to go out and play.
Nah, we didn't have Nintendos. We was outside.
You were outside. There was no Nintendo going on.
How did you get so fast? Riding a bicycle.
That'll do it. We already talked about and obviously know some of the favorite games for you in a Gamecock uniform. The Outback Bowls, the Georgia wins, et cetera, et cetera. How about favorite plays for you individually that stand out? We mentioned the 2 picks against Clemson. That's got to be up there. The pick in the Outback Bowl.
That's a highlight of my college career. So my grandmother, my freshman year, she had a really bad stroke, right? And I can remember we called in the family to the hospital. We were all sitting beside her bed, and we had to make a family decision on whether we would give up or leave on life support. Well, we left her on life support, and she came out of it. She's still living today as we speak, which is incredible. Awesome. Incredible.
How old is she, Sheldon?
93.
Man,
right?
Nice.
So,
that is awesome.
So the reason why I bring that up is that game when we played Clemson and I had those 2 picks, that was the only college game she was able to come see me play.
Wow.
But she was able to come in. They pushed her in a wheelchair. They had a handicap section for her. And that was the only game she ever came to see me play in college. And that was a magical day at the ballpark at Williams-Brice.
What did she say to you after that game?
She probably don't even know what she was watching. I just know she was there.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? But she's still living today. And then I did enjoy the competition against, I think it was, what's his name? Jared Lorenzen. He threw me 2 interceptions in Kentucky.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. He threw me 2 interceptions.
The hefty lefty.
Yep. Hefty lefty. And we also kind of cross paths in NFL. He was a New York Giant. I was a Philadelphia Eagle. So we kind of faced off there a little bit. But there's so many, I'm getting old, and there's so many memories and friendships. And
well, right before you jumped on, we talked about, and a couple of our listeners brought up the hit against Reggie Bush in the NFL. That was like that made all the highlights. Talk about, I don't know if Reggie Bush was ever the same after that hit.
Nah, Reggie Bush thought Lito Shepherd hit him.
Really?
That's how hard the hit was.
No, it's the other corner.
Hey, to this day, he still thinks it's Lito Shepherd. That's how hard.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Somebody needs to call Reggie and let him in on the secret.
Yeah, that's right.
Was it a little screen or swing pass? Is that what it was? And you just jumped it?
We played them earlier in the season, and what they were doing, we were playing man coverage, and he was the ex receiver, which is the guy that's on the line of scrimmage, was getting in a tight split. And on the snap, he was kind of coming off picking our Mike linebacker, who was Jeremiah Trotter at the time. And Reggie was getting that one-on-one leverage on that swing route. So Coach Johnson, God rest his soul, Jim Johnson, who was a mastermind of defense, right? We worked on it all week, and we would show the same look right before the snap. Me and Trot would communicate. I would kind of bail off and play like a cover 2 system, even though it looked like I was going to be a man-to-man chasing the guy across the field. And at practice, I was like, man, there's no way it's going to time up like this, because it was the same thing in practice, the way the scout team was running it. And I was just like, there's no way. And sure enough, we get in the game, and it timed up. I mean, it was picture perfect. Like, we practiced that play probably 20, 25 times during the week just to stop it, because they hurt us on that play so much earlier in the year when we played them. And it timed up. He didn't know I was sitting in the flat. Drew didn't know it, and the hit was the hit. I've had a ton of collisions,
but you lit them up good.
You won that one
really good. Like, that was the hit of the week in the NFL. And when you have that kind of play, it doesn't matter what team you're a fan of. Everybody knows about it. Everybody knew Sheldon Brown at that day if they didn't know him before.
Well, and I know people debate, is it legal, illegal? Would he be fined or suspended today? Let's be honest. I would be fined and suspended.
Yes, you would
in
be.
Today's game.
But you weren't
today.
then.
Yeah.
But also, like, because of who Reggie was, what type of player he was, Reggie didn't take hits like that, yeah.
I mean, he was Hollywood when that happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He was dating the Kardashian, and he was on top of the world, and he couldn't do no wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A little reality.
You brought him down a few pegs.
You brought him
down a few pegs. How about this? 26 career picks. That number didn't surprise me. This one snuck up on me in the NFL. 9 forced fumbles. That's pretty legit.
That snuck up on you? You didn't think I was tough?
No.
What is
no.
What is the key to that? What's the key to forcing
for a corner to get 9 forced fumbles, tough or not? That you got to be in the right spot. You got technique, and you got to want the contact.
Hey, now if you go back to my rookie year, you ever saw the hits against Reggie Swinton? My rookie year, the kick returner for the Dallas Cowboys. Reggie Swinton.
I don't remember that one. No.
SWINTON. I wore number 39.
Okay.
A
special teams hit. I'll be YouTubing it. Don't worry.
I knocked him out on kickoff, and then I want to say I knocked him out on wide receiver. Like he was playing a wide receiver. He ran a comeback.
Right.
And I hit him out of a comeback. That was my freshman year. I mean, that was my rookie season. And then have you ever seen the Steven Jackson hit where I hit him and his helmet comes off?
I know. I do remember that.
I remember that one. Yeah.
When you play with Brian Dawkins.
Yes.
And he's out there putting his body on the line for you. You have no choice.
Right. Mm-hmm. So Dawkins is a Clemson guy. How much smack talk went back and forth between you guys?
He's a God-fearing man who's the best teammate I ever played with. On the field, he turned into a Weapon X for real. Off the field, gentle. He's not even a giant. He's probably 205 soaking wet. But I mean, he had incredible strength for his size and frame. Incredible strength. I seen him hit Brandon Jacobs in the open field. Brandon Jacobs was running full speed in the open field. Brian Dawkins just standing there. Brandon Jacobs tries to run him over. Brian Dawkins hit him. He didn't budge. Picked him up, drop him on his back. First fumble, we pick it up.
These are big backs we're talking about.
How big was Brandon Jacobs? He was
huge.
225, 230, maybe 240.
At least. At least. And
full speed, open field. Yeah. This is I was like, wow.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, I marvel at guys like you, your size, that just not afraid to hit and just laying the wood on guys that got 40 pounds on you, and you don't think twice about it.
Well, Coach Johnson, man, he was such a great coach and motivator. And was it Monty Kiffin too? Wasn't he the Tampa Bay Bucks coach back then?
Monty Kiffin, just passed away.
So, man, those guys, those old school coaches right there, they had some fire that it was kind of like, I can't let this, like, he's like a granddad. Like, I can't let him down.
Yeah.
I can't let him down. Right. It's the risk of me being injured for what they've sacrificed and put forward. Like, it's worth the reward. And it was very rewarding. The career, the teams, the guys, man, my coaching tree. Let's go back to my rookie year. Let's just talk about this because this is crazy. My first year, John Harbaugh, special teams coach.
Yes. Pat
Shermer, quarterbacks coach. Brad Childress, assistant coach to the head coach, right? Leslie Frazier, secondary. Steve Spagnuolo, secondary / linebacker / right-hand man to Jim Johnson. Sean McDermott carried Andy Reid's wife's bags. Do I need to keep going? So
no, that's an impressive list.
All of these people have been head coaches.
Yeah.
Right. Ron Rivera, he was the linebackers coach when I got there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a staff.
Like, how was I going to fail?
Right.
Yeah.
It was impossible for me to fail. I can go into coaching yesterday.
Yeah.
But did the toughness from a Lou Holtz, I mean, people can say what they want about Lou. That he preached toughness. You were not going to be a finesse guy for Lou Holtz. Did that help you make that transition?
100%. When I was in high school, I used to look at the weight room and walk right by it. Mm-hmm. You know, I played basketball, football, and baseball in high school.
Right.
Basketball was my deal. Weight room, I didn't need that. But I tell you this, when I got to college, first time Troy Hamrick ran me over, I realized I needed a weight room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. First time Troy Hamrick.
Well, you weren't the only one that he ran over, Sheldon. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, and you didn't know, depending on what day of the week it was, Troy could be out there a little bit. You didn't want to get the Hamricks unhappy.
I do know. I remember that collision. I realized I needed a weight room.
When's the last time you've spoken to Lou?
Oh, it's been a while. Lou wrote me a letter. One of the years I was in, I wanted to go. I think they had an event. What bowl game was it? Was it this past? Was it last year?
It was in Jacksonville. Yeah,
when they played Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, Ryan put all that together, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
That was the event I was really looking forward to making it to, but we had something come up where I couldn't get to that, and that would have been the last time but that's what I wanted to go see him then. It's been a while.
I think it was something for Lou.
Because Notre Dame, Carolina, he coached at both places.
Yeah.
So it was a group of Notre Dame players got together and got some stuff going, and a group of Carolina, Ryan Brewer. And they were coming together to basically honor Coach Holtz.
Yeah. It was something. Perry Orth was involved. I don't know if you've ever met Perry or not, but a bunch of those guys were involved in that. I want to ask you a question that it didn't really, I mean, it did have something to do with you because you were on the team. But and it's not a great memory. It happened in Death Valley in 2000.
That push off.
Yeah.
We were getting there. We were getting there. That was on Goodman, right?
That was on Andre Goodman.
Yeah.
Man, what a
first
joke.
of all, yeah. So it was a push off in Sheldon Brown's eyes.
Shove.
What does Andre say about that to this day?
I'm sure it's one of those things that he don't want to talk about. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
But we got our revenge when we got to the league. Because he was with the Redskins and I was with the Eagles.
Yeah.
His name was Rod Gardner, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we remember that well.
Steve Spurrier was calling plays for him a couple of those years too up there.
That's right.
We got our revenge.
Yes, your revenge for him too.
From the Florida days, yeah.
I'm not trying to stir the pot here with Clemson fans, although I don't really care. Do you think that flag would have been thrown if that play was in Williams-Brice Stadium?
Absolutely, yes. They would have thrown it 50 times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or if it was even in the first 3.5 quarters of the game, I think the referee swallowed the whistle because it was late.
They called back see, the thing was that game, they called back a touchdown. Brian Scott scored a touchdown earlier and off of good pass from Petty, and they called offensive PI on him. And so that brought back a touchdown in that game. 16 to 14 points.
That was a shove. That wasn't
no doubt.
Yeah, that's
Sheldon, how fun was it for you? We talk a lot on this show about kind of that glory stretch, 2010 to 2013, a trip to Atlanta, 3 consecutive 11-win seasons. I know you and your family still every now and then get a chance to go to a game. You certainly follow the game. How fun was that for you as a former Gamecock, just seeing that program reach those heights?
It was amazing. And, I was playing then, so bragging rights in the locker room was pretty cool. But, and then we were doing it with local guys. We were doing it with local high school guys that were contributing in a major way to the university. And I feel like in order to have that type of success, you got to get your top 2 and 3 players in the state to commit to you. And the way the game is now with NIL and that stuff, it's kind of hard to follow. But, I would go after guys in my state because I think they'll be the most loyal to you. And when things go south, they won't quit and run to the next best thing. That's my opinion.
My time frame in Columbia synced up well with yours. And I know when I first got there was a lot of complaints from former players from previous generations about a disconnect between the university and former players. It seems to me like that's been patched up pretty well. Would you say so as a former prominent player?
Oh, it's very welcoming to go back. The problem with the players that, like myself, it's kind of hard to get back when in the world we live in today. You can't just not live. If you're not living in Columbia, it's kind of hard to be in Columbia.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. But it is very welcoming when you go back.
Yeah.
I've had some lunches and stuff with Coach Tanner. He's awesome.
Yeah, he is.
He's great, and they make it welcoming. I think the previous guys were like, when they did come around, they just were not welcomed.
Right.
And that's their opinion or their take, and it could have been, but some of that too is when you stay away a while, it's kind of hard. New faces, they don't recognize you.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a relationship with Shane?
I do not have a relationship with Shane, but that's on me.
Yeah.
Right? No. Because of the life that I'm living. That's not on Shane. I saw his dad at a baseball game. Super guy.
Yeah.
And
how about? Oh yeah, yeah. How about Paul Maneri, a baseball program? You keep up with Carolina baseball at all? Since you're living in that world, and the baseball team kind of recruits the state.
Yeah, he's in a tough position. Oh man, he's having to let some guys go.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. I used to bring teams down there all the time, and I'll just say Kingston didn't leave the program in the best place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you can. We know what you're saying. You can stop there. Yeah, I know where you're going. You could. Well, because there's good. I mean, Monty, and I've known Monty. I've known Monty for 30 years. I was texting with Monty last night about something. As a matter of fact, so glad he's there. Matter of fact, Coach Lake said to tell you hello. So glad he's still around. Yeah. I mean, they're in good hands now. It's just like you said, they're having to make some tough decisions.
Let me ask you this, though. So how many people will have to quit before you say something's not right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not players. How many grown adults will have to quit on you before you say, something's not right?
Well, there was about to be some others, but
you know what I mean, though? Like,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many people that were cornerstones of the program that had the best interest of the program at heart for decades. When those people start quitting, you got to look in the mirror and say, something's wrong. Like, I got to sit down and evaluate and say, I'm the problem. What is wrong?
Yeah, and Coach Kingston, I mean, as much as he tried to get it fixed, I mean, like there's somebody here in the chat, like you mentioned grown men. My friend Jan here goes to road games in baseball. That's commitment. When you go drive to Oxford for a 3-game series on a weekend, you're not getting paid for it. And I don't think he minds me telling you, he lost heart a long time ago. You sell the crowds at Founders Park. I mean, and it's I got to know Mark Kingston. He was on this show. I liked him personally. Yeah. But there was absolutely a disconnect. So with Monty still there, though, my question is, with Coach Maneri coming in, he's kind of that Lou Holtz, kind of higher, to be honest.
He's even said that.
What does he need to start doing to maybe get these guys back fired up? Not just the fans, but the other pillars, like you mentioned, of the program.
So when your program is rock bottom, I think you need a Lou Holtz hire, and this is why I say that. Because the Lou Holtz hires, like, they go look at the little fine detail, and then they're kind of more respected to basically be harder on a player because of their work ethic, their age, how they're still doing it. So you can't make excuses, right? So if you go hire a nice, young, friendly guy, then those guys are not going to approach it the same way. They're going to try to do it from a buddy standpoint to win a kid over. Where a guy like Coach Holtz and Maneri, they like, hey, I got too many years vested. I know way more than you know. I'm more like a grandfather figure. You either listen or you don't, or you're out. But players respond to that because this is a guy that don't have to be doing it.
That's a great point. The track record walks into that.
Speaks for itself.
It speaks for itself, and the track record
is there.
Carries that power where you are going to pay attention, you are going to respect me, and you are going to do what needs to be done. And I think exactly. And I think that clearly was the MO when Ray made the hire that he did. And I think that's why so many people are excited about it. I'm excited for you. Honestly, I know baseball's always been such a love for you, but you clearly could have gotten a football coaching job.
Oh, I still talk to Coach Reed.
Yeah.
If I text him right now, he'll text right back.
Right. So, I mean, we've seen
don't work for it. You need South Point needs you. Stay put. Okay. Baseball in this state needs Sheldon Brown.
I just don't know if I could deal with the generation of athlete right now in the NFL.
I was getting there because
I'm old school.
At the old station, Deuce Staley was with us, and I would keep in touch with him when he made that jump to coaching in the pros, and Deuce was not a look like I'm just going to play around type of coach. Like, no, you're going to do what you're supposed to do. Accountability. And he would talk about the fact it's amazing how the culture has changed. The generations have changed, and it's become a more difficult job for pro coaches. So I'm wondering, is that a reason why you decided to go the high school route? And also, you certainly could have been a high school football coach. Why baseball over football? Was that a hard decision to make?
Well, like I said, baseball is just something about the game of baseball that I think you can start teaching kids how to compete in life without really worried about them suffering from serious injury. And you can kind of start developing the work ethic and the competitive spirit from a younger age. So that's why I love baseball. Now, along my journey through baseball, I will help some high school football stuff. I coached at the middle school with some football stuff where Coach Simpson is actually still the head coach at the middle school. I just left as the football coach. He won it last year. Yeah, we was on the same. We both coached at Clover Middle, and we won it last year together. But it's trickling down to high school too. Let's be honest, because now people in high school are starting to get money, especially private high schools, to do certain things. So the game is headed in the wrong direction, right? I was meeting with Bruce Brunfield, who was the president of Founders, last week, I think it was. We have a pretty good relationship, and he was saying something that made so much sense to me. And this was more of an NIL talk. He was like, it would make more sense to him if, say, okay, Timmy, you're getting $300,000 in NIL money. Now, 200 of it goes to a savings account. We'll pay you 100 of it. If you stay with me for 3 years, after the 3 years, you'll get the rest of your money. It's almost like a 401k for you, right? But if you not loyal, you transfer, you leave me, I get to keep the money. So it has to be some type of way where you get players that's going to be more loyal and not just, I get on the phone, call you and say, I got more than him. You coming? Yeah, I'm coming. And it don't matter the situation you're going to. Like, it's got to be a little more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now you have free agency in college football, and college football is supposed to be a developmental game because, let's be honest, you're not mentally ready to be an adult in college. You're not.
Yep.
But we're making these kids adults. And then you giving them money, and I bet they don't have it when it's, I mean, they probably spending it before they get it.
Yeah.
So it just don't make sense to just be making them become adults when they're not ready mentally to do that.
And then some of them are threatening.
How important is it now, Sheldon, more than ever, to have that financial literacy with all the NIL dollars that are flowing around at even in the high school ranks in some states, because you made the transition to the NFL. You've been a young guy that's had signing bonus money. I mean,
I'll just tell you this. You gotta facilitate yourself with a team that is trustworthy. That's it, right? Because if you're concentrating on your craft, there's no way you can 1,000% be a NFL football player and 1,000% be a financial advisor.
Right.
You can't do it.
Yep.
Right. If you 1,000% a financial advisor, you're going to suck at football. Because these financial advisors work 8 hours a day. These football players working 12 hours a day. So which one you going to be? So you better surround yourself with someone that's really trustworthy, that when they lay their head down on a pillow at night, they feel guilty and have a bad conscience if they're doing you wrong. And if you can do that, you're fine. You can sleep at night peacefully and you'll have the best life ever. If you dealing with somebody that's too good to be true, then he's coming for you.
Boy, there's a lot of good in what you've said there those last few minutes.
A lot of people are scared to say those type things.
Which
is crazy.
Yeah.
Sheldon, this is why you were always one of my favorite people to have on back in Columbia. It's not just the talent that you are on the field, but the person that you are off the field. So much respect for what you've done, going back home, so to speak, and setting up life there with a great family, and again, giving back, and of course, coaching. So can't thank you enough for taking out the time. It won't
Yeah,
be the
man.
last time I reach out to you and try to get
Don't
you
be a
back
stranger.
on. Oh,
Hey.
you know I won't be. And the next time I'm there, I'm going to that lake house. You better get some jet skis ready for me.
We ready for you.
Okay. All right.
Sheldon, couple things too. Sheldon's got it on his screen there for folks wondering. What, in addition to being the head baseball coach at South Point, if you go to t24athletics.com, that's the travel baseball program that Sheldon started. It's phenomenal, and I have that on very good account from very good sources. That wasn't Sheldon self-promoting. I'm actually about to order a long sleeve T-shirt here in just a minute. I think white graphite or maroon? What am I going with? Graphite. I like the graphite one.
Yeah, I would go with graphite.
Okay, I'm going to order one. You keep us in mind if you need us to do anything to help you as far as that program goes. South Point, whatever. You just tell us. Tell us what we need to get out. We'll get it out. And then I got a laundry list here. Drew Meyer says hello. John Strickland says hello. Michael Flint says hello. Ryan Brewer says hello. So
all those guys are phenomenal teammates. I still talk to Drew Meyer. Did you see the amazing thing he did down in Charleston?
Yes, it's incredible.
That's incredible. I'm gonna try to take a team down there. We're gonna have a little powwow. See who can win the best 2 out of 3.
Nice.
We will. It's right around the corner from me. It's a beautiful complex. We'll come out and do whatever we can do to help. That's
awesome. Sheldon, thank you so much, man.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for making the South end zone enjoyable for a long time. When you played football.
Yeah,
you got
See
it.
you, buddy.
Sheldon. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
There you go. Good.
He is the All-American, number 24, number 1 in our heart.